Thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. I have a question regarding seagrass. A month ago, there was probably none floating around, and now there's a lot of it. What makes the seagrass dislodge from the bottom?
Excellent question. So it could be a variety of reasons. One of those being, kind of what we just talked about, the prop stars, the propellers, they can dislodge seagrass, and it actually, it can take months or years for that to kind of recover, but it, chops it up, dislodges it, loosens it, and uproots it. It could be, I'm trying to think, we had a couple heavy rains, but nothing that I would surmise that would pull it up like that. And sometimes natural events like that can help disturb the sediment, but nothing that should uproot it too much. Sometimes that happens when we have like the macroalgae in this area. If it suffocated or killed the seagrass, it just stayed at the bottom. And then when that algae gets cleared out, like actually Dilton and Helene cleared out a lot of that algae and cleared our waterways, but then that seagrass is still kind of dead and decaying at the bottom. So it could be a case where if there was algae that suffocated the grass and it died, and when the algae gets wiped out, well, now the seagrass can kind of float up. But those are all just hypotheses. I don't have a right or wrong answer necessarily, but it's good to know that that's something you observed because I hadn't heard that. So I appreciate hearing what's going on specifically. And what body of water is that?
Charlotte Harbor.
Charlotte Harbor, just in general, or?
Yeah, anywhere I've been.
Sure.
And I saw a couple days ago, I literally saw a single blade of grass floating up slowly from the bottom. And I'm thinking, what is this, full moon or, what? Well, I don't know. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, some animals are like
and I don't believe it's prop scoring or any of that, at least where I was at.
Sure.
And there's a lot of individual blades of grass here and there, and obviously they mat up and go out to pass, right?
Sure. They mat up and go. Well, what I'll do too is I'll ask your question too to our seagrass integrated mapping program. They know the ins and outs and biology of seagrasses much more than I, and I'll pass on your question and see what I find if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
I just want to follow up on what you said because I feel like my husband and I have lived out here for decades, and I feel like we go through periods of the year where we see seagrass washing. Sometimes it's turtle grass, sometimes it's the other one, whose name I forget. Yes, Elladewy. And it seems seasonal to me, but again, this is a great question because I'd love to know the answer to.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll reach out to one of our seagrass
being able to take a card out of my desk and call somebody.
Yes, and then I have my work phone, call and text between the hours of 8 and 5. And I have that phone number, you guys are welcome to it. I don't post it on there, especially if it's gonna be, Center Street or what have you, just because you never know where it ends up. I could be having folks call me at 3 a.m. So, but I will absolutely leave my card here for you all, and it does have my work cell phone
about the website, that's for FWC
Yes.
globally, right?
Yes, great question. So, we have our FWC webpage that has a lot of information. It is almost overwhelming how much information we have on our website, and I really love it, but sometimes it can be hard to sift through things. So, we have all our fish species regulations, so our snook, our redfish, our sea trout, so it's myfwc.com/snook, and it will take you to that page, and it will also take you to all the region PDFs. So if you're like, hey, what's going on in Tampa Bay? What does the Big Bend fishery look like? We'll have all those regions available. And then what we really hope to accomplish, a project that we really are working on behind the scenes, is having a holistic regional management page. So we can have information, kind of like I had in the PowerPoint, available to everyone. Because I know when I first started, holistic regional management just sounded like word salad. I didn't understand what it meant. So we want to be able to show people all the stuff that we're doing and the broader picture of the fishery. But again, I'm happy to send those links of where they are available on the webpage too, if that's helpful.
So what you're saying is, like, we could probably go to the website and sign up, and there's probably a newsletter that comes out, but there's really no way to sign up to sort of extract the information that's relevant to our location.
No, I'm sorry. Yes, you can. So if you
In an auto fashion, like, I signed up for a newsletter, so I'll get these every year when you produce them.
I see, I see. So we have, if you sign up for our newsletter or our gov delivery emails, we'll have, you'll be signed up for like the press releases. So anytime there is a workshop going on or any regulation or rule change, you'll get that email. In terms of, hey, these are up on our website and they're ready, those typically are not a press release. It might be a social media post. But if you were to look, like Google MyFWC and just search snook, and then the page says snook, and you scroll down, you'll see 2025 Charlotte Harbor, 2025 PDF Tampa Bay, 2025 Southwest. All the PDFs are on the webpage. But at this time, we have so many PRs that go out already, we do not have one scheduled for when they go up. But if that's something you're all interested in, when they're live, I can absolutely email this group and say, hey, y'all, check out the 2026 evaluations.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's easy.
So then I have to ask one more question, because I am a fisherman.
Of course.
And 2 years ago, I was in Louisiana. And I fished for redfish and I fished for trout. And in the course of a morning, we caught 150 trout and 25 redfish in 4 hours. That just doesn't happen here. So my real question is there work that is done with the other states in terms of what they're doing that can be implemented back into the state of Florida? Or what are the differences? Why can't we go catch 150 trout in 4 hours, in Charlotte Harbor?
Sure. I will say, at sea trout specifically, and looking at the other states, I looked at their regulations for this rulemaking process, so that's why they're kind of fresh in my head. Florida tends to be more conservative with their regulations, so I know it's kind of counterintuitive to what you're asking, because if we have more conservative regulations, we should have more fish. And I don't know the population of Louisiana or the amount
conservative,
Yeah.
what do you really mean? Does
Sure.
that means we can only keep 3 fish?
Yeah.
Okay, but the reality is, Louisiana could have the same thing that says you can only keep 3 fish, but unfortunately, you can go there and catch 150 in the morning.
Yeah.
You put 147 of them back, but you
Right.
can still catch 150. You can't catch 150 here,
Yeah.
regardless of the regulations. Now,
Sure.
there's 22 million people in the state of Florida, or 25, but I was interested, did you not say that only 10% of the population, like 2.5 million people, are actually registered fishing people?
So 2.5 million licensed recreational anglers. So the caveat to that is that, if you're 65 or over, you do not need a recreational, yes, you are exempt from fishing license. And,
Quit picking on us.
sorry.
No, but that's the amount
Yes.
would not be
Yes.
counted. Can't count you, right?
Yeah. So
I'm in there.
we do have, I was speaking with our Office of Licensing and Permitting very recently, and they prefer that we say that metric, just because we don't have a way to measure the
seems to be a correlation between good fishing and water quality.
Sure.
And what we're complaining about is the barrier lip was taken out, it's now pouring down the Cedar, Mountain Shade Pass. It would be interesting to see, when they took that out, what happened to the fisheries in Mountain Shade Pass. Do you have that information?
You know, I don't, but I can try to dig it up for you. I can see what I can do. I can't promise anything, but what I can do, if you can send me an email exactly what you're looking for, what you're asking, I can see if I can find that I can see if I can find that contact for you, or at least an avenue of who to contact.
Right?
I'm sorry, one more thing to add to that, you guys have such good questions. The DEP, Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserve, paid to have a study that looked at water quality and seagrasses relationships after the Cetus lock was pulled out. That's a defined time period, it's a really good data set, it's published by Janicki. Having that time period to look at and looking at the fisheries with it would be great. I'm not sure that, I know that Aquatic Preserve people didn't do that, but the data is, the people at your office will know that report that I'm talking about, and being able to look at that synthesized data already,
Yeah.
because it's very well done.
And you said it was with the Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserve.
Yeah,
Is that something that would be available on their website?
it is.
Oh.
Yeah. If you just ask Ariel or Mindy or any of those people over there, they'll be able to
Yeah.
get you the link, and it's a little complicated, but maybe if you do to Nikki and Mountain Shade Pass, I don't know, it'll pull up.
Yeah. That'd be the right resource.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You all, I'm gonna take notes. Ready to fish. I know, I've got a lot, it took me like a year to get this guy, I had to advocate for him. People are stingy with the fish.
And would you mind, can you leave just a few of them?
I was gonna ask, would you like me to leave some?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. Okay, so.
Let me get my card.
That would be great. Okay, our next agenda item is the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting in May. And those were sent out earlier today in the email. So we just need to know if, we just need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Second. Anyone opposed? Perfect, those are approved then. Thank you. And then Steve, we're in your section here with the treasurer's report. I'll throw the PowerPoint for you.
So I'll try and make this pretty quick. So for the month of May, only, we had $297 worth of income. We had $100 expense. Our only expense for the month was the rental, or I should say the donation that we made to the church for the use of this property for our meetings. So our net income was $197.19. On a year-to-date basis, you can see our income's a little over $2,200, and our expenses are a little over $1,300. If you look at the income, our interest income on our portfolios, a little bit over $1,000 in memberships, around $680. Net income so far year-to-date through, unfortunately, it says April there, but it's actually May, so I must have forgotten to change that date. So $870 worth of net income in the first 5 months of the year. Okay, at any rate, we have a little, the third line there is just not centered properly, but essentially our checking and money market cash balance is a little over $28,000. In a couple of previous meetings, I have been authorized now by the board of directors to be able to take that sort got about $20,000 in treasury bills mature right before the end of the month. And so it's substantially invested, but it happened after the end of the month, so it will be recorded next month. So the cash balance looks a little bit inflated, but that money is pretty much already fully spent. And you can see our portfolio there, substantially treasury bills now. We have a CD that comes due in July for $20,000 in Truist, and another CD in, what's that, October. The other thing that I just point out, and this has been something I've been working on now for literally a year and a half, was to get maturities set up in the investment portfolio so that we literally have cash maturing every month. So if you kind of go through and you look at those dates, we've got, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, we have money that's maturing. And that was what allowed the board to be comfortable to say that I could take the cash balance down because we know we have money coming due. And we have a gap between December and March, but I'll begin starting to fill that in as well as we move forward, and we have that CD in July that comes through. And hopefully, what I'm ultimately looking to try and do is to kind of have a 6-month maturity ladder where we have $10,000 a month that's coming due. And that way, we can probably take the cash balance down to, in the course of a month, $5,000 probably, because we know we have money. So that's pretty much the treasurer's report, unless somebody has a question.
Can you just remind me what the T-bills, is there a minimum time frame on those?
Well, the maximum time frame on T-bills is a year.
Maximum, and there's no minimum?
I think the shortest one that you can actually buy is 4 weeks through the Treasury Direct program.
Pretty good. Hardly worth it, yeah. But,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
But, versus, and we've had this long discussion, and I was a banker for most of my life, the money market accounts at the bank are paying, 1.5 to 1.7 right now. And as you can see there, I'm buying treasury bills right now, out to 6 months at 3.7.
Yeah, I know.
So it made plenty of sense for us to move to the Treasury Direct program as opposed to the
Absolutely.
banks from a
Yeah.
fiduciary and through.
Perfect.
Any
Okay.
other questions? I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
No? Okay.
Are you going to talk about anything? I know you want to talk about at least one topic. The decision that was made on the tower.
I think I've already been through that.
Well, I think you just want to close it out.
Yeah, I guess so. So, separate me from the Greater Pine Island Civic Association. I happen to live on Baracus Avenue, and I was the person who led the entire effort of our neighborhood to try and keep the cell phone tower from being built across from the Bokeelia post office. And unfortunately, the county decided that it was a good idea to do, and the hearing examiner piled on and said it was a good idea to do. And so we looked at the idea, because we had the ability through the land development code to go to the Board of County Commissioners and appeal. But the reality is when you've got all your employees saying it's a good idea, it's going to be pretty hard for the Board of County Commissioners to, opt to do something completely different. We actually had a couple lawyers look at all of the documentation. They basically said that the determinations, while they didn't go our way, none of them were faulty in terms of what they concluded. My assessment is that they decided to be very legalistic, and I still contend that they could have brokered a deal between the citizens on Baracus Avenue and surrounding area and the people that want to put up the tower, but they decided the land development code says this is the law and that's all we care about. So as a follow-up, I did, thanks. Okay, thank you. As a follow-up, I wrote a letter to all my obviously, the restaurant's gonna, you know, come back, they're gonna try and keep the same charm. But they also, there's also gonna be fuel, back there, so they're gonna offer 90 and 93 octane gas and some things called fuel pods. I'm not familiar with those. There's gonna be a kayak launch back there. They're talking potentially about a small boat club, boat cruises, dolphin and sunset cruises, considering adding a tiki hut. If they act like all the people on Pine Island, they'll do it and then get a permit some year later.
How many?
Yeah,
2 to 3, 4.
yeah, they could be. And no, I wasn't talking about the users. Or Joe Creed. They said lots of retail space inside, also to come are some cute tiny homes. And the name will be, the Atlas Shaker
we love that. We are the only place in Lee County that I know of, and maybe even Southwest Florida, that has so many flags flying for the holidays. So June 14th, fly your flag. We have some beautification going on our island. We've got murals going up. We're clearing out little island triangles and putting in new trees. So that's pretty much it. And we had a safety program going on. Kayaks and small outdoor motors were missing, probably for about 3 weeks. Someone was coming in around 5 in the morning on a small boat, grabbing your kayak and pulling it behind them. So we had multiple kayaks and small outdoor motors missing. We partnered with Lee County Sheriff's Office. We made announcements. Every time we had something stolen, we reported it, and soon, with all the announcements, and we were putting it on our website, it has stopped. So fingers crossed. And I think that's it. The fish house, of course, you talked about, which is all really, really good news. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. It's supporting us too. Always.
Before I go on, this young lady, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name last night.
Hi, I'm Natalie Binder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to just say a few words to our group as well tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi. And I. Yeah.
Hi, I am Natalie Binder. I am the operations manager at the Reno Research Center, the Indian Mounds up in Botelia. And I am out here trying to meet the community and share information about the mounds and our wonderful prehistoric history here on Pine Island and Pineland. I work for the Florida Museum and the University of Florida. And this time of year it's a little bit more quiet. We don't have our regular guided tours until it gets a little bit cooler, but you're always welcome to come and visit us. We're open from sunrise to sunset, and it's a great time to connect with nature, to view the animals and the plants, the native plants that are in that area. And we're also working on quite a few improvements to the park. So I hope that you can visit us. And if you would like a tour, especially if you have a group of 2 or more, and you would like a guided tour through the park, give us a call, and I would be happy to take you around. It's a good time to do that. Or if you have visitors, we just come from out of town. Yeah. But there are also the signage on in the park where you walk around. The signage is very good. There's a lot of, so it's a nice walk for nature, but you can also walk around and read the signs at different stops and have a little historic walk with your kids and your grandkids. And we're working on improving the classroom. We're working on a lot of things. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, just a few more things and we'll wrap it up unless anyone else has anything. Just the awareness I'm sure everyone's seeing for the hurricane preparedness. We're not going to have any issues this year, but just always be prepared anyway. And a reminder about the July 4th parade. American Legion is sponsoring that. I don't know if we've decided yet if we're going to participate.
Oh, I think we
in that,
should.
but yeah, I agree. And I know that you mentioned last night, Carol, that you guys are going to have a few trucks in there. Yeah. And of course, Mango Mania, so put that on your calendar for July 11th as well. And that's what we have. We are not going to have a meeting next month, so we will reconvene in early August. And is there anything else?
Can you just mention the June 20th Calusa Waterkeeper with Sue?
I do have it there.
Yes, could you? Yes. At our park. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're building, oyster
Do you want to talk about how that works?
Yes, we want to invite everybody to the Mountain Shake Civic, the community park. Sue DeHod, everyone here knows Sue. She's fantastic. She's one of the best scientists for our area. We're just so fortunate to have her. And she's a Calusa waterkeeper, and she's going to be giving us a class on how to